Okay.
त्याला कळवायची गरज नाही ना, त्यांना द्यायला पाहिजे की नाही तिला सांग फोन करू आपल्या सोबत नेला कशाला आपल्या सोबत नाही करणार
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? I think we're still waiting for people to get approved. I'm one of the participants. I would like to join this meeting to listen to some information about getting finding jobs in China. So I think this could be a good moment for some of us to introduce ourselves while we're still waiting for our host to get everyone ready. So my name is Jacob. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Hello, Jacob.
Hello.
Jacob.
Hi.
Hello,
Nice
hi.
Yeah, hi, nice to have you here. Actually, we are waiting for some more people to join our event, and tonight our speaker is Fouzan, and he's gonna to share the PPT right now, and we will start our tonight event soon.
Great. Victory, you are from Haidt, China, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So you're one of the kind of also people who organize this, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what about all the other guys. Is everyone in China or they're kind of all over the world?
You mean the tonight speaker?
No, just the participants really. So the ones who are listening.
Hi, I'm Pratibha. I'm currently in India, but I'm planning to come to China.
Okay, great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm happy to meet some of the guys here because I'm also now I'm in England because of the virus. I kind of returned back to England, and it'd be nice to meet some of you guys who I think also kind of planning to come back to China or go to China sometime soon, right?
Okay, so how's things in England? I've heard like it's not better than India right now, I guess.
Well, one thing for sure is you cannot trust any news, right? I would say here things are a bit messy. People here, they have a really relaxed approach to this whole virus situation. The government is trying to control this. They put in some measures. It seems to be slowing down now. It seems to be slowing down, and hopefully it's going to get better soon. But I think that might be one of another participants. But yeah, how about in India? How's the situation?
Situation is pretty out of control right now. Like we can say, like the community spread has started. So the cases every day are increasing by like 7,000 or 8,000 per day.
Wow.
And like it is pretty clear, like India's health facility is not up to the mark till now. So we are facing a lot of trouble, but still the government is trying to do their best.
Yes. Population creates a big problem, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
India is a small country with a lot of people, so social distancing is not actually possible in some parts of India.
I wouldn't say it's a small country. It's a big country, but with a very big population. Yes.
Like by the area, I'll say.
Yes.
Here
yes, for sure. Okay. And how are people coping with all of this? Are they kind of struggling? Is it very difficult for them, or is it okay?
To be very honest, when it started, we were actually not very comfortable staying at home. But now, like it has been a part of routine.
Yeah. I would say it's quite similar to here, to England, but people kind of forcing themselves out. I think they cannot take it anymore, so they walking around, going for walks and things like this, which is of course maybe not the best idea. But yeah, I think people kind of after a few months now they started to get a bit sick of this whole lockdown. But I think everyone has to work together to try to combat this, really, right?
Exactly. So like you have been to China, like you have worked there, studied there?
Yeah. I had a business in China and I worked there for some time. So I lived in Shenzhen for about 4 years now. And when the whole virus started, actually, when it was a peak in China, I decided to return back to England, only to find out that, it kind of got to England already. So when I arrived there, I got into another lockdown here. When I arrived here, I got into another lockdown. So it's quite funny. But yeah, I'm hoping in the next few months, I'll be able to return to China.
Hi, people. Good evening. Hello. Good evening, people. Yeah, hi, Jacob. Hi, how are you doing?
Yes. Yeah, good. And yourself?
My name is Mahesh. I'm also from India. I'm basically from Mumbai.
Okay. Another very big city, right?
Right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I also joined this webinar. I got this notification. So I'm in touch with Fouzan.
Hi everyone, this is Fouzan over here. Shall we start? Shall we begin?
Great.
Yeah, sure.
Switch myself off.
Right. For
Hello,
some
everyone.
reasons, I made Victory the host, but I am unable to share my screen for the PPT. Can you guys advise host how to turn on the share screening, because she's unable to do so?
Well, I tell you what, I can see career story and kind of this whole, I
Everyone
don't
see
know,
my
title
screen
page.
properly?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
All right. Okay. So let's start. I think Victory is going to introduce a few things, and then I'll catch you guys up. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. All right.
Okay,
let's have all of our mics muted so that it's easier for all of us to listen.
yeah, I'm going to like mute everyone that to make the background sound clear. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay, everyone could please mute yourself if you have anything to talk. Okay, so tonight, hello everyone, this is an Expert Headhunter Victory from Hi China. Tonight, we are happy to invite Fouzan as the one of our speakers to share his career story in China. And first of all, let me introduce our company. We have two online platforms. One of them is GIC Expert, which is the English official WeChat account with 300,000 expert followers, online followers. And from this official WeChat account, every day we will share many useful and interesting articles to help those expats to live better in China. For example, we will share some articles like how to do work visa, how to rent house, and how to find some interesting places to visit. And yeah, if you guys would like to know more information about our platform, you could scan the QR code and follow us. Another platform is our job website for expats, hirechina.com. Actually, there are many professional positions apart from the teaching jobs. For example, like sales, marketing positions, as well as some engineer or design positions. If you guys or if one of your friends is looking for a job, you are welcome to register on our website and upload your CV and apply for some jobs there. And on the side, this is our QR code of our website. And if you are free after the event, you are welcome to visit our website and check some jobs there. So tonight, we are very glad to have our speaker, Business Development and Marketing Manager, Fouzan Parkar, to deliver his career story in China. Actually, Fouzan has already lived in China for almost 10 years and worked for a Fortune 500 Chinese company for over 5 years, with very strong understanding of Chinese business culture. So tonight, he's going to share his experience, that related to work culture and the benefits to work in the Chinese own culture company. And also he will share some career advice with us from his own experience. So hello, Fouzan.
All right. Thank you, Victory. Highly appreciate it. First of
Okay.
all, I'll just try to see if I can share my screen. That would be much easier if I'm able to do so. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Can anyone please give me a thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes, I can see.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right. Good evening to everyone. I am sure there are people from many different countries. So hello. And in Chinese, 大家好,你好. I'm just gonna try to keep this as simple as I can. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, if you want to interrupt me, please feel free to ask me any questions. In the end, I will definitely leave a question answer session, but even in between, if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate and you can just ask me any questions. I'll just give a very short and brief introduction. I'll just add a couple of things what Victory added. I've lived in China for almost 10 years. I moved to China in the year 2010 for my bachelor's degree in a university called Nanjing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. It's in the top 2 universities in China for aeronautical engineering. And after I finished my bachelor's degree, I was doing an internship in Shanghai, which was related to aircraft. And after that, for some reasons, back in 2014, the Chinese immigration law was very different when it came down to Z visas. You need minimum 2 to 3 years of work experience back then in 2014 if you had to apply for a visa, but a work visa if you wanted to work for a reputed company. So for that reason, I just had to come back to Dubai, which is my hometown. I'm an Indian, by the way, but I'm born and brought up in Dubai. So I was working in Dubai for almost 1.5 years, 2 years, doing business directly with China as well. And then I got an opportunity in a Chinese state-owned enterprise known as CRRC. I will give you an introduction. And since then, I've been working there as a business development and marketing manager. I handle mainly the Middle East and African market, as well as a few South Asian countries, such as Malaysia, Indonesia, for cultural reasons. All right, I'm just gonna give you a little, not introduction, I'm just gonna do a bit of a show off about myself. So just a second. All right, so let's say if I just put my name on Baidu, which is a Chinese website, which is like Chinese Google, and I just paste my English name and my Chinese name together. So the first news, the second news, the third news, the fourth news, the fifth news, the sixth, the seventh. So basically all of it is about me. I'm just gonna give a very short details about what it is and why am I on Baidu. For some reasons, I have to keep sharing my screen. I'm not able to switch. Okay. So since I've been working for CRRC, I have got 2 major awards, which is both given by the government. The first one over here, as you see, is Shandong, which literally, or I could just try to make it easier, is more like an outstanding award for my contribution to the city's business since I handle the overseas market. And the second award was in the year 2019, again, for international communication that was given by the city government. The first one was from the Hunan provincial government. I have been featured on Hunan TV twice. The first one over here is when I did that in English. The second one, the photo over here, is an interview on Chucho TV. Apart from these, I have a lot of articles which you saw on Baidu, which shows about the awards I have won and my achievements in China. Now, skipping to my show off. So I'll just go to the next slide. All right, so I work for a company called CRRC. From the picture, I think you guys can make a little bit of a guess what it is. It's related to trains. Now, how many of you have lived in China? If you have, if you could just raise your voice or just tell me that you guys have lived in China. How many of you guys have lived in China? or are living in China right now? I'm sure there are many.
Yes.
So all of you guys who have actually lived in China,
Yes, I'm living in China too.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, I cannot see your names. It's not showing up. So you guys have definitely been into the high-speed trains for sure, which is the Gaotie, if you have to travel from one city to the other, or I'm pretty sure you guys have taken the metros and everything. So CRRC by name is China Railway Rolling Stock Cooperation. We guys manufacture the high-speed train, the metros, the LRVs, the tramways. And I'll just give you a little bit of this photo right here. Okay, so this one is the CRH train, which is 300 kilometers per hour. This is the Fuxing train, which goes at 400 kilometers per hour. Right over here, you see this is the metros, which we are manufacturing at different CRRCs. We have about 148 subsidiaries all around China with 15 major factories in Zhuzhou, which is somewhere in the central right above Guangzhou. In Chengdu, we have one factory. We have one in Nanjing, which is very big, as well as in Sichuan province, we have one, and also in the northern part of China. And very few people right now might know of this train right over here, which is our prototype, which has already been tested so far. Of course, not with humans, not with public, just for the testing purposes. This train is capable of going at 600 kilometers per hour. Our goal for CRRC is to test it on the Chinese railway tracks because it's a maglev train by the year 2022. And most likely it will be operational and will be open for public by the year 2024. We hope that we could do it even faster than that. But this has already been tested. We have some technical stuff which is going on. So let's hope that traveling from Beijing to Shanghai, which is right now 4 hours, can be cut down to, let's say 2 hours and 30 minutes because it will be a direct train. And it's a maglev train that runs on magnet. Okay, so now what is CRRC? Well, it is the world's largest supplier for trains and the products related to that. It is ranked 318 on the Fortune 500 list, as well as it is ranked 96th in the top 2,500 companies that do R&D investments. Now, the global footprint of CRRC. As you see over the map, we are present literally everywhere. We supply our trains and our products to almost 100 countries. We take 93% share because all the metros and all the high-speed trains in China actually are manufactured by our company, apart from a few projects which is not done by us. One of the big ones which we are not doing or which we haven't done is the Shanghai maglev. If anyone is from Shanghai, I'm pretty sure you guys have been on that. That is designed by Siemens, which is a German company. And we take 35% share of the global rail market, which is massive as well. Now over here, there are a few key points which I will later on tell you guys, but still, just to give an introduction about this, that CRRC, yes, it's a Chinese company. We have supplied our products to many, many countries, but we also do manufacturing out of China. We have our base in about 17 countries, as in like factory manufacturing facilities. We have offices in 28 different countries, whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia, Africa, or US market, or Latin America, we are present everywhere. And this is just to give a brief introduction about that. Now, a few important stuffs about Chinese state-owned enterprises, but do you guys have any questions for the stuff which I just did? Anyone? If you guys have any questions? I assume not, so I'll move ahead. Just a second. All right, state-owned enterprises, as you know, Chinese state-owned enterprises are very traditional when it comes down to how they do businesses, whatever things work inside their facilities, whether it's commercial, whether it's engineering, they have their traditions which they stick on or they lean to in doing business. Now, most importantly, state-owned enterprises, they usually hire fresh graduates. Very seldom that it happens that they would hire an expert who is experienced with 10 years or 15 years of experience. You would barely find someone who's getting into the company at, let's say, a general manager position or even a higher manager position. That barely happens. But this is very different when it comes down to foreigners. For foreigners, what they intend or they usually prefer is someone with 2 to 3 years of work experience so that they can put in their input, so that they know, all right, this person has worked, he has sort of an experience, whether it's international or even local. They would usually prefer someone who has a little bit of international exposure, but even local market experience is valued. Now, when you get into a state-owned enterprise, over here, there are a couple of stuff which are very different than a private company. In private company, when you get in, some people might agree, some people might disagree, but it's more about your targets, your goals. You have to just make sure that you meet your targets. But over here, when you get into a state-owned enterprises, there are a couple of stuff which is very important, is that you have to understand the business structure, the company policies, and how things work, which is very important in the very early stage of the company. They don't sort of give you pressure, hey, you have to perform or you have to get results ASAP. They give you enough time so that you can get along with the people, the policies, because the policies play a very important role even when you're executing businesses. That's number one. Number two, which I myself believe is the most important thing, is relationship. If there's any Chinese over here, there's a word called 关系. We usually say in China, 关系是很重要, and 当然是重要, because relationships are very important, especially in a state-owned enterprises. Whether you have to get some work done in your company, or whether you have to go on a higher position. All of this is important. And the other important part is that you need to build relationships, not just with your managers, but with every single department, if you have to be very successful in an SOE. And over here, I'll just add 1 or 2 important points, which I myself have seen, is that in the state-owned companies, the engineers or the engineering department, they play a very vital role. They take an important role in decision-making, whether you have a project abroad or in domestic market. So the commercial people are usually a little bit lower when it comes down to power or decision-making. The engineering are usually above them. But this is, and some people say it's a good thing, some people would disagree with that, but then it's all about, if you're able to coordinate, if you have good relation with the engineers, they sort of support you with some projects which is difficult for them to approach. Because engineering is probably the most difficult thing, what they find in any state-owned enterprise I have seen, whether it's railway, whether it's construction, even if it's aviation related stuff. All right, so now I am also gonna, all right, I just missed one important stuff. Just a second. All right, over here, I forgot to mention one important thing, that in the SOEs, when you sort of get in, the process is also very complicated. Unlike private companies, when you just enter, of course, in China, getting a Z visa or a working visa itself is very, very complicated. The visa process is not that easy. Yes, in the past few years, the government has put in all the efforts they can to make it easier, but getting into a state-owned enterprises, it's a little more difficult because they actually do your background check, especially with your university. I have seen that happening with me I never thought they would actually do it, but the university degree which I provided with them, they went up and then they checked it, they verified it. So they usually do that. And even my experience, which I was having in Dubai, I never thought they would actually verify that, but they even called up my ex-boss and spoke with him to ask about my job. So they do background checks in order for them to know that the person who is coming to their company has a good character. That is very important for them. Any questions here? Then I could move to my next important slide. Anyone? Does anyone have any questions?
May I ask you one question?
Yes, please.
I'm a Chinese here, and now I'm living in Beijing.
Yes.
Just now, you mentioned that strong relationship is very vital to get a job here, and if you want to achieve success, then you need to maintain good relationship. Then I'm wondering how you achieve that, how you manage to got the job, and yeah, that is the question.
Well, that is in my next slide. I will definitely show that, definitely. But yes, strong relationships to how I got the job and how I'm working, that I will definitely show you. But relationships, I am sure because you're a Chinese, you know that guanxi is important. Of course, in
Yes.
the good aspects, I will not put it in the bad aspects. But then in state-owned enterprises, there is a hierarchy system which you have to sort of follow. But when it comes down to foreigners, they're a little lenient towards foreigners. They don't expect you to completely follow that, but then they do expect you to understand the culture, the traditions very well, because at times you do have local customers as well. So yes, relationships are important to execute businesses. And I'm sure anyone who's working in China would know that. All right, anyone else who has any questions related to culture or anything? If not, then I could get on to my next slide.
Hello, Fouzan.
Yes.
Yes. I would like to know how about the culture of promotion in the Chinese state-owned companies for expats.
Okay, so a lot of people have this myth or this ideology that when foreigners get into state-owned enterprises, they cannot grow in terms of career development. But this is totally wrong. If you have the right skills, if you have the right vision, which you can give to your leaders, which we call 领导, if you're able to do that, you can definitely grow. And probably one of the best things which I have seen compared to the private companies is that the growth in state-owned enterprises are much higher or better, I would say. We have annual increments and all that I will mention later on. But in my company, I have seen this. This is very rare, but I do have experience and I've seen this. In my company, there was a foreigner who probably went to the highest level in our company, and he was vice general manager of an entire region, which was the American market, as well as the Northern American market. He was, I think, for both. I'm not very sure about which market it was actually handling, but he was a vice general manager, which means that he had Chinese working under him, which is very rare, which doesn't happen that often. Yes, it might happen in private companies, it does. But in state-owned enterprises, a lot of people think, no, it wouldn't. But yes, it does happen. But it takes time. You have to prove, you have to show that you're worthy of that, that you're a team leader, and then only you can go up. The most important thing, what I believe, in order for you to build your career in a state-owned company is the vision. You have to show that, let's say when you get in the first year and you are not able to give results, which is fine, which is okay for state-owned enterprises because they have a lot of patience, but you need to show them the vision that 3 years from now or 5 years from now, what is my company, what is CRC going to achieve in a specific region? What are we going to get? And the plan for that, because that is something very important, which I will also mention later down how it's done. So that's how you would grow. And yes, definitely it is possible for you to grow up. And again, relationships over here are also important. I hope I answered your question. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you.
I think there are some people who are trying to get in, but I am unable to do so because I'm sharing my screen. So just please hold on a second. Okay, it was not it's not the notification from here. Anyone else who has any questions?
Yes. Well, I have another question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Because as we know, 996 is
Yeah.
common phrase in China,
Yes.
which means people work very hard to achieve their target in company. And as I know that in the Chinese state-owned company, many people don't have this anxiety or pressure. They could get off the job on time and enjoy the weekend easily. Is that your understanding about the Chinese state-owned company?
No, I will not totally agree with that. Yes, a lot of people think that we don't do overtime, we don't have pressure. To some extent, it is correct that the work pressure, or you could say the pressure from the leaders, are a bit less when it comes down to when it comes down to giving results. I'm sorry. And yes, you could compare that with private companies and say, yeah, we have a little bit of less pressure in presenting results, but that's not the case all the time. The biggest problem which our company or any state-owned enterprises would face is mainly with the management and executing projects. Project management is where you have a lot of difficulties because it's a big, massive organization, and we have to deliver up products to governments because our customers are mainly governments, as we supply trains, and trains are supplied to local cities, municipalities, or the local government. So for that reason, we have a lot of project management pressure. In 9 to 6, I have seen a lot of my colleagues, they do overtime, especially during fiscal year or during Gonian, which is the Chinese New Year. This is the time when we have a lot of work. As by the end of the year, we have a lot of stuff to do, which every company does have, such as giving presentations, annual report, plan for the next year, etc. So it's not totally true that we don't have work pressure. We do, but it's a little less compared to the private sector. Because I have a lot of friends who work in Huawei, Tencent. We work big companies, and I see that the work pressure over there is very high, which is true compared to the state-owned enterprises.
Got it. Thank you for sharing.
Sure. Anyone else who has any questions?
Hey, Fouzan, this is Alex here.
Hi, Alex.
All right. Yeah. That's nice. I mean, it's just a suggestion. What I think is it's really interesting what you are sharing. Yes. I would say we can continue sharing everything so that we don't get distracted like what we are saying. Then at the end, we can have the question and answer session. That would be more appropriate. This is just my suggestion.
Sure. No worries. I appreciate that. It's just, I mean, if anyone wants to interrupt and ask me, I wouldn't mind. We do have a question answer session at the end where people can also ask questions. But thank you for your suggestion. I'll move on to my next slide with this. All right. Now, jobs at SOEs. Now, a lot of people have asked me, how do you get jobs in SOEs? Because it's very difficult. The first and the most basic or the most important thing, which I would say, is you have to contact these companies. Later on, I will give you some names of the companies which are hired, which hire foreigners, I'm sorry. So the most basic and the most important thing which I would recommend is that you should contact the companies by yourself, through their website, through LinkedIn. Get the contacts and contact them and ask them if they have a vacancy. I will tell you how you could actually do it in my next slide, which will actually help you and understand and narrow down which companies, what to do, and how should you actually approach that. Number 2 is exhibitions. Yes, job fairs, I've also mentioned it, but it's very different attending exhibitions, which is related to the industry. We have many exhibitions, conferences throughout the year in China itself and abroad as well, where these companies and the big leaders of the companies, whether the general manager, the vice general manager, some decision makers definitely do show up at this exhibition on the first day, for sure. They do show up. So you have to go to the exhibitions. You have to talk to them. You have to get their cards, which is very, I would say, a very different approach. A lot of people might disagree with that, but I would say you should do it because this actually works and has worked with at least 6 of my friends to whom I've given the advice. Now, you also can contact them through LinkedIn. You can add people who are actually working in these specific companies, find them on LinkedIn, add them, and talk to them and ask them more. First, it's better that you get information with them. You don't just literally need to go and ask them for jobs, which is not very good. It's not a Chinese approach. You sort of have to build a relationship. Over here again, even when at the exhibition, you just cannot say that you want a job. You have to go, you have to talk to them. You have to get his interest. You have to find that within those few seconds you might get to talk to him. Get his business card, add him on WeChat, send him an email, get more information about the company. And then later on you could be like, hey, would you have any interest in meeting me outside? And they would actually meet you up. It is possible. I believe what Steve Jobs said, that you should ask, never fail to ask. You can ask them out. You could just have a coffee with some of them and talk to them, build a relationship. And trust me on this, because one of my friends, I cannot name, he's in the group right now. I cannot name him. He was in my city. He was a student over there while I was working. And I introduced him to one of the other companies, not my company, but our sister company. And the guy who was working over there was a general manager of the overseas market. And I introduced him. They had a small conversation during the lunch. And later on, I kept telling my friend, talk to him frequently, ask him out sometimes. Anytime he needs any help, make sure you're there. And it turns out that this guy, he wanted some help with translation. Chinese companies, they didn't need help with the translation. So he helped him with the translation. This took almost, I think, 6-7 months that he used to talk to him and used to share a lot of information back and forth. 6 months later, out of nowhere, he just asked him, hey, would you be interested in working for this position? He said yes. There was no other guy who was even considered. He just went in, gave an interview, got the job, and is doing very well right now. He's located, I'm not supposed to give the details, but he's doing pretty good. He is right now the product manager for a specific region, which is very good. So this can only happen if you build relation, and you have to do it either through the exhibitions, contact the website. Now, the other one is university and campus interviews, which happens in China. If there are any fresh graduates over here, I would still recommend them to go attend these ones. For foreigners, you guys might think, hey, I'm a foreigner, I cannot go there. This is meant for Chinese. I would still say no, just go, talk to them, exchange business cards, or just give your resume. More importantly, just take their contact. An email is still fine, because in state-owned companies, they definitely check their emails. Irrespective of whoever is sending them, they will check their emails. And one of the other ways is to get a job through job hunting companies. Hire China, which are our host, they do a pretty good job as well, because they were able to offer me a few jobs while I have been working over here. And the other one is Zhaobin, which is a Chinese website that is very, I would say, efficient when it comes down to state-owned companies, because state-owned companies, they're very traditional. So they just post their jobs on Chinese companies. So Chaobin and 51 Jobs. These are the major companies which I would say take a bigger share when it comes down to the HR or job hunting. Now, how did I land in CRRC? It's a very simple but a short story. I was working in Dubai, and I have been trying to get back to China as much as I could. I was visiting China for businesses as I was handling procurement. And out of nowhere, on a job hunting company, I found a position which was, the name was not there, but the company's name was not there. There was city and there was railway written on it. The job was related to the railway. And I tried to contact the job hunting company for it. I applied for the job. They never responded me for some reasons. So I looked up for the name, Zhuzhou Railway, and I found there was many companies in Zhuzhou which were railway. So I tried to narrow down which companies were looking into what sort of role. And I literally narrowed down to one company, found their website, gave them a call. Yes, they didn't pick up my call in the first, let's say, 5-6 times, but I did try contacting them. And and once I got through, I spoke, of course you have to speak Chinese. The skills required, I'm going to definitely mention you. So I spoke to him in Chinese. I told him, hey, I saw this thing somewhere. He didn't bother asking me where I saw, what it was. This guy was an HR. He's like, oh, great. Can you send me a resume? I said, fine. I sent him my resume. A week later, this guy just added me on WeChat and he just asked me a couple of questions. I was in Dubai at that time. And after those questions, he said, how about we have a Skype interview? And I had a Skype interview, but this is very traditional Chinese company. So after my Skype interview was done, they made me wait for like, let's say a month. And after a month, it was very shocking, but they asked me, hey, can you fly down to China? We would want to have a personal interview. I had to think about that because I have to buy a ticket by myself. They're not going to pay for it. But they did mention that once you land anywhere in China, we would pay for your ticket from anywhere in China to our city. We would cover hotel, food, everything. All the costs would be covered. So I took that risk. I went down to China. But then before I went, I spoke to a lot of my Chinese friends in Dubai. Everyone told me, Fouzan, you should do it because not everyone would get into this company. This is one of the best companies in the world, and it's the #1 company in China for railway. So I flew down to Shanghai. They gave me a ticket. I had interviews, so I got the job. So this is how I landed my job through the website. The same thing, I have been mentoring 3 of the students. Out of 3 of them, 2 of them landed jobs in the companies which I will mention, and 2 of them are actually state-owned companies using the same sort of thing, contacting the companies, attending the exhibition, and keep the relationship with these people whomever you contact. Irrespective of whether they want you in or not, make sure that you help them, whether with relationship or with anything, because that's the key. And both of them did the same thing, and one of them got first internship and then got the job. So yes, it definitely works for state-owned. I'm not sure about the private companies, but for state-owned, it definitely works. Coming down to skills. Now, if you want to work for a Chinese state-owned company, Chinese is a must. You should definitely speak Chinese. If you don't speak Chinese, it is very difficult. Yes, there is a chance that you might land a job in a state-owned companies if you don't speak Chinese. That would only happen if you have a work experience of 10 to 15 years. Our company hired a German guy who didn't speak Chinese, but had, I think, 15 years of work experience. An engineer who was actually in the same field, which was in railway. He used to work, I think, for Siemens. I'm not sure, but he didn't speak Chinese, but he got a job. So yes, but then people who have 2 to 3 years of experience, fresh graduates, there's no chance if you don't speak Chinese. So you have to learn Chinese. And more importantly is to understand the culture. A lot of people would ask, what do you mean by culture? So it's all about how you would portray yourself in front of someone when you're at an interview or when you talk. This skills is something you have to develop all by yourself. I would suggest some books later on down which you could read, which might help you. But when you are sitting on a table with someone and you talk to someone, even before you sit down, how you sit down is also a tradition. When you're having a dinner with a Chinese state-owned enterprise or Chinese people, there's a table culture which we call who sits next to whom. If there's a leader or lingdao, which we call, if you sit right next to him, you're more important. So this is a sort of culture, or table culture, which we call. And there are a lot of other stuff involved in that. I see Victory raised a hand. Yes, Victory?
Yes, Fouzan. Some people are waiting for your approval to join the event.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah.
Yep, done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
So understanding culture is very important because if you don't, you might get in. There's a probability that you get in. And if you're still unable to understand, then it's difficult for you to get the results you want. Now, second is able to speak the language and understand the culture of your region or where you come from. I am pretty sure we all speak at least 3 languages if you have lived in China, English, Chinese, and the language where you come from. If you're a native English speaking, then it's English. But they care about the language you speak and you're fluent and the culture. They might ask you a couple of questions related to your culture as well, just to see if you do understand it or not. They prefer if you have graduated from Chinese universities, that is something they would definitely like. And at times they would also want graduates from top universities around the world, Harvard, etc. They do hire them. Engineering background is a plus because most of the companies that hire foreigners in SOEs are commercial department, but they would prefer someone who has engineering background so that you can support the engineering team when they are doing projects. Now, I mentioned earlier that vision is important when you apply for a job. They want to see what you can give to the company. So the strategic planning is very important. So when you get in, let's say in the first year, you're unable to get the results, whatever it is, 1 million or 10 million, whatsoever. But if you're able to give your leader the vision that, hey, look, after 5 years, this is what we're going to achieve, and the right plan for that, you definitely have a chance. You definitely are going to have a good career in the company. I have seen in my experience that some foreigners were unable to get results, were unable to get the orders of millions, but they were able to give vision. They were able to change the perspective or the ideology, how to approach a market, and still they were very successful. Because what happens is, let's say after 5 years you leave the company, or after 10 years you leave the company, or even after 3 years, the company can still go on with your vision. And that would actually give them results, because a railway market takes a long time to execute business. On an average, a small piece of product which we manufacture for a new build would take us about 6 months for the R&D, for manufacturing, for testing, etc. For the entire train, well, that's a long time as well. So it's very important. And again, building strong relationships. I would focus that again and again. If you build good relationships with your senior manager, your general manager, it would work. As I mentioned, that leniency towards foreigners can be seen in state-owned enterprises. So in China, in state-owned enterprises, which we usually say is that D cannot talk to B. D usually talks to C, C talks to B, and so on, which is true, not completely, but it is. That's how the tradition or the business works. But for foreigners, it's usually fine. I have a vice general manager above me, but sometimes I just cut him off. I just talk directly to the manager. It might disappoint your vice general manager or people above you, but you need to have the right skill to make sure that no one is offended by how you do business. Because the top level managers understand, hey, he's a foreigner. this much leniency is fine. And if you're executing businesses, if you're showing vision to your leaders, you sort of get close to them. So it's important. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide. Now, I'm going to list you the name of the companies. If you guys can write it down, you guys can take a screenshot if you want. This is important. So take your time, you can write it down. These are some big companies out of, how many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of 8, 4 of them, from what I know, are actually Forbes Fortune 500 companies. So if you end up getting a job in these companies, it's very good, but it's not easy. But I'm pretty sure all of you can put in the efforts and you could get it. So the first one, which I would say is my own company, CRRC. Now, I would tell you why. First, we have projects all around the world. Now, we don't just hire foreigners in China. We have our factories in 15 countries, factories, commercial offices in 28. So let's say we have our facilities in 28 countries. So in these 28 countries, we need local manpower. We need to hire people locally. The advantage, what you guys or people might have if you contact them directly, is that out of these 28 companies, which I know, I think 8 or 10 of them have actually outsourced HR to the local companies. But the rest of them, I'm talking about in the very early stage, not when the businesses has been already started, and then they do give outsource it to the HR companies, finance, etc. But I'm talking about the very early stage. The decision making is still with China. So if you are in any of these 28 companies, 28 countries, look up for the names of these companies, talk to them, approach them, tell them that you have been living in China, you worked in China, etc. Chinese graduate, let them know. They will definitely give you a priority. Now, the second company, which I have mentioned over here, I've made it in bold. The reason for that, this is one of the biggest companies for construction in the world, one of the biggest companies. If you look up this name, you might find them that they are doing some sort of projects in your country. They build different type of skyscrapers. I live in UAE. UAE is known for skyscrapers, Dubai especially, and a lot of these projects are done by China State Construction Company, and they hire a lot of people locally. I was shocked during an exhibition. It was a really exhibition, and they were there because we sort of relate to each other in some parts of the business. During the exhibition, the general manager of Middle East market, I was able to meet him, and he told me that, hey, we would definitely want foreigners to work in UAE or in the Middle East, in different countries, who have Chinese background. The reason for that is that, let's say this is Middle East where the business is being executed, but the decision makers or the engineering background or everything is in China. So you need someone to connect. You need someone to be the bridge. Now, in order to build that bridge, you have to understand both the backgrounds. That's where foreigners, or which we call the international experts, play a vital role. That's why in my LinkedIn profile, you would see I've written it down clearly, building bridges between China and other countries. This is a vital role. And that's why these companies, the names which I have mentioned, are actually doing a lot of business out of China and hire foreigners. My friends who are currently working are CRRC, which is my company, China State Construction Company, CRCC, which is China Railway Construction Company, and CMEC, which is China Machinery Engineering Corporation. The mentors, which I mentioned, 2 of my student mentors whom I mentored, who actually landed a job. One of them was at State Construction Company. The other one was at CRCC. One of them got the job for the Spanish-speaking market. She started as an intern for the CRCC. And the China State Construction Company was one of my friends in the Middle East who also had a Chinese background. And he landed a job directly for the Middle East market, but he was hired in China. So there are two parts over here, which I missed. I'm sorry about that. That you would either get hired in China by these companies, and you would be called, or you would usually have a designation of business development manager, sales manager, marketing manager, or project manager. These are the important ones. Or you might get hired in your country or in your region to handle local market to do the project management. Now, why, when I mention these companies, I've written down key factors. How should you narrow these companies? When I mentioned above, find them on website, contact them. How would you do that? Now, there are lots of them. How would you narrow them down? The first one, find companies as easy as possible, which are doing projects in your country. They're doing existing projects, whether it's related to construction, whether it's related to railway, machineries, automobile, even telecom. You could just find these companies. I'm pretty sure it's not that difficult. For that, the most important thing is you people have to read a lot of Chinese news. It's very important. I will not recommend any names, but the only one which I know is China Daily, which is good. For Chinese news, Renmin Ribao, which is a social media platform, is very good. And sometimes you should actually even follow the news, I would say not Weibo, which is sort of Weibo, like social media news sort of thing. Because these people are very active when it comes down to showing projects executed by state-owned companies. So this is an important factor. Now, the best chance which you might have is when a company has recently won a project in your region. That's the best chance. I have seen this in my own experience, that any company who just won a project in a region, they definitely want to hire a foreigner. Because the state-owned enterprises, they have this mentality. They want someone who can understand the local culture, who can build a bridge. This is very important for them. And the last one is localization. Now, a lot of people would ask, what is the difference between like winning a project and doing localization? There's a thin silver lining over here, that localization is that these factories sort of do a joint venture sometimes with a local company, or even set up their own factory to manufacture their products over there. In this most important role over here, the engineering part, which is the engineers, if you guys are engineers and you want to get into the engineering field, then localization is probably your best chance. Again, if you say you have a Chinese background, or if you have been in China, or you speak the language, it's a big, big plus. So these are the three important factors which I would say that you need to follow in order to get a job in any of these big companies. Yes, there is Huawei, Tencent, Alibaba, etc. Lots of them. I will just give a little bit of brief details about the benefits why you should choose SOEs over private companies. Even these companies, Huawei, etc., they do hire foreigners, but they don't hire many foreigners in China compared to SOEs, which is a fact. A lot of people will disagree with that, but if you look at the numbers of how many foreigners, I'm talking about legit foreigners, who have been hired at a very, let's say, I would not say mid-level, entry level in these big Fortune 500 companies, and comparing them with SOEs, you would find that private companies hire I'm talking about the top level companies. Medium-sized companies, definitely, they do give opportunities to foreigners. All right. Now, why would you choose an state-owned enterprise? This is a very simple thing, but an important fact, that all of these state-owned enterprises, they play a very important and vital role in the GDP of China. And all of them, they want to go international. They want to do internationalization, globalization. They want to make sure their presence is all around the world. whether it's about gaining business, whether it's showing how powerful they are in terms of their engineering or in tech, etc. So they do need foreigners. This is a sector or the companies which for sure they definitely need international expert in every single project which they are doing in foreign countries. Now, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of details compared to a private fortune company in China. The stability and security in SOEs are definitely good because in my experience, I have not seen anyone getting fired in our company. Even during the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of my friends in China lost their jobs, even working for a big company such as Naked, WeWork, Alibaba. A lot of my foreigners foreigners, they lost their jobs because there are crises going on and it is affecting everyone. But state-owned enterprises, because they are backed up by the government, they don't really fire someone unless and until you do something really bad. Let's say you kick your boss's ass, something like that. So that might get you fired. But even if you do mistakes, they still sort of like just tell you what to do, which is something good as in terms of stability and security. You get all the benefits. The salaries compared to the private companies are, I would say, 10 to 15% less for sure when it comes down to basic salaries. But on the other hand, you get all the benefits which not every single companies would give. They give you all sorts of allowances, whether it's rent, whether it's a very good insurance, even for fuel, food allowances, paid return tickets, etc. You get all of these and a lot of other stuff. And the most important thing which I would add over here is that you get a local and international recognition. What do I mean by local and international recognition? So in local recognition, when you do business with two governments, two state-owned enterprises in China and abroad, you sort of get involved with the people who are in the government. So the government officials, the city mayor or the chief minister, they do sort of get involved in the big projects. So you get along with them. You do have to deal with them at certain point in your life. You have to interact with them. This is very good in terms of building strong relationships again. And let's say when you're leaving your job or you're changing your career, etc., they can definitely give you a reference. And their references, trust me, works a lot. And also the important thing which I was able to see, that because I did good, I was able to execute businesses, the local media would cover your story. I have been featured on Hunan TV, which is the second most popular Hunan television after CCTV. Yes, the CCTV 1, 2, 3, etc. The first one was a very short interview, but the second was an entire story. If any one of you is interested in knowing that, I will send it to you. Later on, when I got another big project, I was again featured on Chuzhou TV, which was a big, complete story, I think, for 5 or 7 minutes. And also, I have been featured on all the news channels, the paper news channels, and on the #1 social media news channel, which is Riming Ribao. So you sort of get that recognition. And this definitely helps you getting your Chinese green card. Working for a state-owned enterprise is the best thing that can be there on your resume when you apply for a Chinese green card. As you guys might be aware of, that Chinese green card is indeed the most difficult thing. So far, I haven't applied for it, but I will soon. I'm just waiting to execute certain projects, and then I would definitely apply for that. In my entire city, which is Chuzhou, only one foreigner so far was able to get it, and he is from our company as well. Of course, the criteria, the eligibility is very complicated, but working for an SOE definitely backs you up. And oh yeah, even in international recognition, that when you do certain projects in your countries, even the local media of your country would definitely cover that story. A lot of my colleagues who have been working for the American market and Brazilian market, they have been featured by the local media a couple of times because they take part in important projects, key projects for the city, because transportation is an important sector, construction is an important sector, IT is an important sector. So when you cover these sectors, you sort of get involved with these media platforms as well. Then is career development. As I mentioned before, if you're able to give the vision, able to give the results, of course, a lot of your bosses will be like, I need the results. 10 million renminbi, 20 million renminbi. Of course, this is true that in state-owned enterprises, that your targets, I will not say that they are imaginary, but something like that. They sort of, in the very beginning, they'd be like, we need 2 million. You just enter it. And 2 million is a lot. But then they don't expect you to get the results. They get it because their senior managers or higher level people have given them this target. So they have to give it to you, pass it on to you. But if you're able to get the right approach, the strategy, and the vision, then there is a career development. When I started, I was having no team, a new guy entering the company with not much of a help from anyone, somehow was able to do whatever I was doing. And slowly, now I have a team of my own. I'm a team lead, which I have a team of 3 members, which is less, but it's fair enough for me. And also when I talk to my leaders, when I show them a specific project, they do assure that when you do good, when you have good results, you can grow, which is possible. And the important part is that there is literally, I'm not sure about all these state-owned enterprises, but a few of them, they do have annual growth. Your salary, they do negotiate with you every single year. You can put this clause down in your contract if you want to, that I would negotiate my salary every single year, and they would. If your performance is good, you would definitely have it. Which I have seen, in my experience, I have never gone to my HR or showing my performance, and they were like, sorry, we can't do anything. That has never happened. So there is, I will say, a decent increment in your salary as well. And the last but not the least, you get a lot of domestic opportunities. When you work for state-owned companies, for sure, everyone is going to know what company you work for. Just because I started working for state-owned companies when I finished almost 3 years, through Hired In as well, I got an opportunity at Alibaba, and also I got an opportunity at Tencent. This happened because of I would say, the name of the company. Of course, your skills, your profile matters, but then again, it opens the door. So this is very important, that it would definitely give you a lot of opportunities. And you learn how Chinese do businesses. You grow your network in China in a way no one can grow if you have the right skills, if you work for state-owned companies, because you deal with manufacturers directly. So 5 years, 10 years down the line, a lot of people switch from working as a business manager to starting their own businesses because they have very strong network with the manufacturing facilities. So this is also one advantage. All right, so that's my presentation in total over here. I'm just gonna show you certain books which will help you understand Chinese business culture. These are a few books which I have read and I feel that it's helpful. My favorite of all time would be 5 Timeless Lessons for Succeeding in China. This book sort of gives you a deep understanding of how Chinese people do business, of how they think, the mentality of executing businesses, very traditional methods. So I love this book. So yeah. And now getting to question answer sessions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Hello.
Yes.
Would it be okay to ask you a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi. I'm Jacob. Yes.
Just hold on a second. I just need to admit someone over here as well.
Sure.
Yep.
So maybe I can even. There you go. Should be able to see me. So I've been trying to kind of follow different jobs all around China, really.
Yes.
I've been living in Shenzhen for some time. I also spent some time in Beijing, Shanghai, and I can see that a lot of jobs or the positions that are available really depend on the location or the city they are in.
Yes.
So I can see that Beijing kind of has a lot of state-owned companies, whereas Shenzhen is more privatized. Then you have Shanghai, which gets into more like creative international business. How much, from your experience, would you say the city where let's say you're looking for a job has an impact on what kind of positions you could find?
Could you repeat the last?
So how much do you think?
How much making a little bit?
Yes, sorry. How much do you think the city that you're looking for, or what kind of jobs do you think it matters where you're looking for a specific kind of job?
Well, since I have lived in China for a very long time, almost 10 years of span, I studied in Nanjing, which is a very big city compared to Zhuzhou. So the city definitely matters when you apply for a job. As you mentioned that in Beijing, there are a lot of state-owned companies, and Shenzhen and Shanghai, on the other hand, have more private companies. I will not completely agree with that. It's not Shenzhen, I would say, is more private, but Shanghai, on the other hand, has massive amount of state-owned enterprises. Outskirts of Shanghai, which we call, they have lots of facilities, manufacturing facilities over there. So I would love to work in Shanghai. No doubt about that. It is my, because I was in Nanjing, then I moved to Shanghai, and then I moved to Zhuzhou. So, and Zhuzhou is a third-tier company. There's not much infrastructure over there. So it's true that working in Shanghai would definitely give you more opportunities. No doubt about that. And it is probably the best place to work in China. But again, you have to make your own decision. What do you prefer? Do you prefer a city where you think you can grow in terms of more opportunities? Or you can decide to work for a company where you are more stable and have job security, and you can grow into the company, and not just into the company. They have many, we call parent companies, and you can grow with that as well. And again, as I mentioned, that you get more domestic opportunities. If you work for these big companies, state-owned companies, pick any one of them, you would definitely get offers if you have the right network, which will lead you back to Shanghai. One of our ex-colleagues used to work in Zhuzhou and now works in Shenzhen. He worked there for, I think, 3 years, but his goal was eventually to get to Shenzhen. So he landed a job over there. So yes, it depends on what you actually want. I would love to work in Shanghai, but then the salaries they give in Shanghai with the benefits and the expense, I'm pretty sure Shanghai, as you know, is very expensive. I would still go with Zhuzhou, because when I got the opportunity from Alibaba, the reason for me not to go was that, yes, the salary was high, but then the expenses were really high. So I have to sort of balance that. So it depends on your ideology, what you think, what industry you want to get into. And that's all about what you really want to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Anyone else? Anyone?
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Omar Hanif.
Hi.
I have been here for. Can you listen to me?
Yes, I can hear you, Omar.
Okay. I come to the point. My question is, I have heard about the private jobs in China that normally Chinese company, whether it is state-owned or whether it is private enterprises, they tend to terminate you after 1 year of working. Or I'm not saying intend to, but most likely I have this experience that after 1 year they try to fire you, and after of course there would be some reason. So what is your opinion about this?
All right, I'll be very straightforward to this. I'm not going to be biased towards anyone. When you get into a company in China, you sort of need to understand what role are you going to play in the company, whether it's state-owned or a private company. In my experience, from people I have known, I have not seen anyone getting fired that quick for whatsoever reason it might have been. Foreigners intend to switch jobs very frequently in China, which I have seen a lot, but they don't really fire you in a very early stage. But let's say your job over there is done. You were there for a certain project. You were there to execute certain business. Once that is done, they don't need you. That can be the reason that they fire you. But I have barely seen anyone, let's say in my career of 5 years and 10 years I've lived, very few, I would say 10 to 15 people I know have got fired within 1 or 2 years of job. Very few of them, unless and until they were not performing, unless and until they were not able to get the results. So I will not say they get fired. But then again, the Chinese human resource policies are very strict as well. One of my friend who works at WeWork is an international company, just got fired not because they fired him, they fired globally, I think 30% throughout the world. And when they fired him, he got compensated very well for it, according to the law, as well as according to his position. So he is happy for that. I mean, he doesn't have a job right now, but he has enough so that he can go on for a couple of months. I hope that answered your question.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Can I talk with you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Ali, and I was studying in China in international trade and economics from 2016. So this year next month I will graduate, and I was doing online job in a company using Alibaba Trade, and I gave them a very good result. And in a 1 year I gave a sale of $97,000 in a company.
Okay.
But now they are offering me sales manager job in a company to handle the foreign trade.
Okay.
But I just want to know how I can develop my career in the future, so I can change, if I can change my job like in Shenzhen or in Shanghai or in Beijing, in a big cities. So what should I need to do to get a higher salary in China? Right now, the average earning per month is about 10,000 to 18,000 RMB per month. So I want to know what should I do to increase my average salary per month. That time I was also studying in the university, and in the free time they offer me this opportunity that I can went to office and I can do sales, because that I just do on a commission base. Now after next month I will graduate and they will offer me work visa and I will do a sales manager job. So I just want to know how I can increase my experience, and then I will move on further.
Can I ask you, in which city are you living right now?
Yeah, I was living in Guangxi, Wuzhou.
Guangxi what?
Guangxi, Wuzhou.
Wuzhou. Okay, all right. So the company you're working is Alibaba, or is it a private company that sells on Alibaba platform?
Yeah, private company sells on Alibaba.
Okay, so let's say they do some manufacturing, if I'm not wrong, correct?
Yeah, gemstone manufacturing.
Okay, so in my my advice for you would be that right now, because you're a fresh graduate, to every single fresh graduate who is out there, you're very lucky that you got an internship, let's say, and you were able to perform as well, and you were able to get good results. Not everyone is able to do so. So what you could do is get this job, right? Because you have an opening right away, who's able to offer you a Z visa, start this job, work for at least 2 to 3 years. And the best thing about Alibaba is that you are on a platform where you know manufacturers or people from all around China. Contact them. If you're as a salesperson, you can connect with everyone in China. Yes, it sounds very difficult that, hey, I am a sales guy, I'm doing international sales, not local sales. But still, being on an Alibaba platform, if you really want, you could connect with a lot of people. Since, which I showed again in my presentation, that you are in manufacturing, you might attend exhibitions. So go attend as many exhibitions, as many fairs you can in Beijing, in Shanghai, wherever it is, and start connecting with these people. Build a relation with the people over there. And I would still say, since you're working for a company, you might even start a couple of things by yourself. You can promote other companies or businesses out of your job, freelancer, do it for them in your desired company or city, as you did in the past for these ABC company. Work for them, show them you're good enough, and I am pretty sure if you show the results, they would be pleased to offer you a job the same way they have offered you here. So this is probably the best approach I can give you in my experience. Applying jobs through Hired In is probably one of the other ways you can do, which is also good. I will, after the presentation is done, I will show some jobs which are right now available and you guys can apply on it. So you can also have a look at them. There are, I think, 3 positions which I have shortlisted. So that's my opinion. I hope it helps.
So I think it is better if I will do 2 or 3 year job in the same company as a sales manager position, because if I change my company, they will not offer me as the same rank as this company is offering me right now because of of my sales results.
Well, you see the position, there are 2 things. You want to grow in terms of position, you want to grow in terms of salaries. 2 different aspects. If you're starting as a sales manager in a very early stage in a company, and if you still want to switch your jobs in the very beginning itself, you can do that. But this is something on your profile. Since you're a fresh graduate, when they see your profile, you would be seen as someone who is switching jobs very often rather than showing stability and maturity. In my very early stages, when I was working for a state-owned company, I also wanted to switch jobs. And I had an opportunity to meet with the CEO of Naked, one of the tech companies in Shanghai. And I asked him for a referral. You guys can imagine how much guts I would have. I just asked him for a referral in his company. He was very straightforward. He said, look, you're great. Whatever you're doing is fine, but please, I've seen your profile. You have changed jobs in the last 3 years. I would suggest that you show some stability and maturity in your company and then come back to me again. So I would suggest the same thing. Since you're a fresh graduate, this is something I would suggest to you as well. Start, do at least 2 years, 3 years, and then switch your job to your desired city.
Yeah, that's a great idea, to stay in the same company to show stability in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else who has any questions? Please feel free to ask me any type of questions. Yes.
Hi. Yeah, hi, I'm Pratibha. I'm currently in India and I'm able to speak Chinese pretty well. I have been working with Chinese companies from last few years. I plan to do my MBA from China. So I just wanted to know, having the name of Beijing Dashway or Fouzan Parkar, and when we compare that with Hungji or any other B grade university, how much it makes a difference in the career?
All right. I'm going to be very honest when it comes down to MBA. if you want to do your MBA in China, you can choose the top 4 or 5 universities. Fudan, Jiaotong. There is another one which is Xi'an Jiaotong, which offers dual degree. Xi'an Jiaotong Liverpool University. It gives you a dual degree from Xi'an Jiaotong as well as Liverpool University, which is something I would recommend. But you are from India, right? If I'm not wrong.
Right.
Where in India do you reside?
Delhi.
Delhi, okay. I would suggest that you can still do MBA in India. That is better than doing an MBA in China, in my experience from what I have seen. No, I'm going to be very straightforward. Not because the Chinese education system is not good. It's very good. It's really nice. It will give you a very good exposure. But again, it depends on what you're looking into. If you're looking into like good quality of education, then stick to Delhi. But if you're looking, let's say, hey, I want to set up a career in China, then China is probably a good option. Because a lot of people come to China and they complain about the education system. This is not what we were expecting, especially coming in from India, because the education system in India is very strict. Over here, it's very different. The approach is very different.
Okay.
If you come to China and you work, do MBA, the best thing is that you're going to learn a language, which is helpful. India and China are best friends when it comes down to business. Even during pandemic, they are doing lots of businesses. A lot of aircraft from India flying daily to China. SpiceJet is one of them. So if you do MBA in Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, it's going to help you grow your network. And that is very
like that was exactly in your like first part of the video, you were telling how important the Guanxi is. So like for the same reason, like for the Chinese language, I already know the Chinese. I've already cleared HSK 5. So my main priority isn't Chinese language, but to make network and like even if I plan to come back to India again. So like what I've seen is if there's a Chinese management and they see that you have graduated from a good university from China, so they give importance no matter, even if I do like MBA from IIM, that would be less valued than any of the Chinese universities. So like I just wanted to confirm if I'm on the right track or not.
No, when I showed you the list of the companies that they either hire locally or they hire in their facilities back in a specific country. If they see someone, university of, let's say, Shanghai Jiaotong, or any university, any Chinese university, they would definitely prefer you over anyone else. Or at least they would give you a better chance to give an interview compared to anyone else, or if you speak the language. First, if you have already cleared HSK, great. HSK 5, wow, even I haven't done that for some reasons. But if you speak the language, it's important. And again, I will just focus on this important little thing. If you're doing an MBA, if your language skills is good, just try to get understanding what is the Chinese business culture. A lot of my friends, they speak Chinese, not very good, not very bad. They can manage, but they understand the culture, the business culture, which takes time. You cannot learn it in a day. I will not say I have mastered business culture. I would say I'm not even close, but I understand some part of it. I would need a long time to understand it completely. I don't think I'll be able to because they keep on developing. So if you come to these cities and you understand the business culture, it's going to help you with your career. And more importantly, one thing I will add, while you're doing your MBA, try to find opportunities to get to these manufacturing facilities. It depends if your goal is management level or engineering level. I'm not sure what your goals are.
Consultancy side.
Yeah, but getting in touch with the manufacturing facilities will not just grow your network. When you come back to your country, you would have a lot of opportunity in doing business as a freelancer as well, which helps a lot.
Okay.
And you did your HSK in China or out of China itself?
India.
In India itself.
Like I learned Chinese. Yeah. Like I learned Chinese out of interest, and I helped the Chinese person to set his business in India. Then I started working in Oppo. So like I got an exposure to working with Chinese. There I improved my Chinese language.
Wow, that's actually great. Someone who's able to finish HSK 5 out of China, a round of applause, no doubt about that.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
I hope I
Okay.
answered your question.
Clear. Yeah, thanks a lot.
So, you're welcome.
Hey, Fouzan, this is Alex here again.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, really appreciate what you have shared, all your valuable information over here. That's really great. I've been here for almost 14 years as well.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, so actually, the reason why I wanted to ask these questions is I think I do also have the same background as yours. Same thing, like, studied in China, and basically born and brought up in Saudi
Hello?
Arabia. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's much clearer now. I was just breaking a little bit in between.
Okay, yeah. So I do have like the same background as yours, I would say. The same thing, like I've studied here in China, and I was born and brought up in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
I have done like few jobs here as well, but recently I've been struggling with getting jobs over here. I have like a medical background.
Okay.
I've done my master's here, and I was looking for clinical research. I don't know if you have any information regarding that, because your background is engineering.
For clinical, my wife also did her master's. She's doing her master's in China right now. She did bachelor's in engineering as well. I am not very familiar with the clinical background, but the only one thing which I know from my network, what I have understood, was the thing that one of my friends was doing his master's in, I think it's called cardiology or cardiothoracic something. I'm not sure if that's the right term. Me and one of my friends who was the head of the surgeons in the hospital in Juzhou, somehow we were able to find a solution for him that he was, internship, not the internship from the university, but from the hospital, which was directly done. I think it's called clinical attachment. Is there something like that, if I'm using the right term? Clinical attachment.
Clinical attached, I really don't know. Like, it's mostly like clinical research or clinical, education. I'm not really aware of that term, though.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, well, basically, the thing he was doing was he was actually working under this head of department, the head surgeon, and he was able to, I will not say he was performing surgeries, but then he was able to do certain things in the hospital, like as a doctor. So that's the only one thing which I know. And what the doctor told me is that it is possible for foreigners to start working as an intern, but I'm not sure about jobs. For jobs, Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou is where foreigners work. I'm not very familiar with that, but I am very sure about this, that if you're able to meet the right person in the right hospital or the right department.
Yeah, exactly. See, this is the biggest issue. Like what you have mentioned about Guangxi, or having people who know can land you a job. For example, like all the points you have mentioned, I was really really like the points which you have mentioned, like, for example, having the Guangxi, and of course having graduated from a good university and having experience, and speaking Chinese. I really have all of them, and I have also studied from Harvard Medical University. I got a diploma from Harvard Medical University, but unfortunately, me not being from a native country, I think it's really difficult for me. For example, like I have applied a few companies last year and even this year, so they have turned me down just because they were asking like if you have an American passport, or if you come from a native country. And I was like, I actually grew up almost like half of my life in US. and have went to a university. So does that really count, or do they not really consider that, and they just wants to have or look at your passport?
All right, I will. If I don't, if I'm not offending you, can I tell you where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from India. As I said, like I do have like the same background as yours. There's
Okay,
no difference.
all right. So, but you grew up in Saudi Arabia, right?
I was born and brought up in Saudi Arabia. Then, yes, I moved to America when I was in grade 6, and then for medicine, I came to China.
All right. I'll add 2 points over here. Just 1 second, okay. All right. The first one is that I have an Indian background, just same as you, born and brought up in UAE. Now think of it, when I got into my company, they thought I'm an Indian guy who would do Indian job, who was hired. Well, I was eventually in the very early stage, was hired for an Indian project, okay? Being an Indian. But then I just made them realize by myself that, look, yes, I can do this job, but I have more, I would say, Middle Eastern culture. And I understand that culture better than I understand Indian culture because I've never lived over there. And I told them, look, this is the and I gave them the vision, the idea that, look, this is how it is. There's a business opportunity which we can grab. And then they just literally switched me within 3 months from Indian market to Middle Eastern market. So this is one thing. I will not say that it really matters, but it is important. You cannot deny the fact that it has no value. It definitely does have value. Now, coming down to the relationships, the one point which I didn't add, which I forgot because I didn't realize that there were students and master degree students over here. This is something when I mentor my university students, I always tell them your first and your best chance of landing a job is through your teacher. This is no doubt. Your Laosha is the one who's going to help you. Like, my first job in China was actually teaching English in my own university for the pilots. I had a very good relationship with my teacher, my Chinese teacher. It's like, hey, Fouzan, you speak very well English. Why don't you teach Chinese English? I said, I would give it a try. And that was my first job. And he himself, by the end of the semester, offered me a couple of small internships, which didn't really go well, but he did offer me that. So when it even comes down to medical, my wife, she had a pretty good relationship with the doctor she was working, I would say supervisor. So she's in touch with them. And let's say, I always push her that you are supposed to talk to him, request him for some sorts of clinical attachment, internship or something, and that might help you with getting a job. And there is a job description or job opening right now for something related to your background, because it's medical background and Middle Eastern. In my next slide, I will show that to you. It is for an international sales for someone who has medical background, I think, for Middle Eastern market. So you might.
Yeah, I would really appreciate. Are you in the groups like so that I can add you if you don't mind?
Don't worry. As soon as when we're done with this, I'm gonna. You guys can add me on WeChat and my LinkedIn account. So feel free to ask me any questions on WeChat or LinkedIn if you want to. So
yeah, sure. And I also would like to know like who's the best person to contact on Hire China, because I've seen like few jobs like that, clinical research and international manager. So I would really like to apply, but the only reason the thing is like when I applied last year, I got the same question, and when I applied it this year, I got the same reply that if you are from a native country. Even though like I think I do have all the qualification, and I'm one of the doctors who is certified by UN and WHO to work in China. So, I mean, I do have a good qualification, but the only problem is I don't have the exposure. I don't know the people. I don't know the right person who I can contact to.
All right. What I would suggest is that you could get in touch with Victory. She is in the group right now. You could add her. She is someone who can assist you with that. But I'll just give you one piece of advice over here. When you say, let's say you hold an Indian passport, all right? When you're going for an interview, all right, whatsoever it may be, or even when you're talking to job hunters, Hire China or anyone from the recruitment department, make sure you make them realize that you understand this market better than anyone. Yes, they will ask you the question, are you a native of this country? You say no.
Yeah, that was unfortunately the first question they will ask. Like, if do you have an American passport or any native country's passport? So I kind of like got disappointed when I'm offering you my degrees from Hartford and from UN and WHO. The only question you ask is like, are you an American? I said, like, there's no difference. I speak the language. I understand. I was there for 10 years. And then, of course, I moved here for almost like, what, 13, 14 years. So, I mean, you know, what do you really expect? And even though on top of that, I just don't like the concept. To top that up, you know, I've applied for the Canadian citizenship, but I'm just waiting. I did not accept the offer yet.
The reason, I'll give you a reason for that. See, I handle Middle Eastern market, but I hold an Indian passport. So every time I have to go on a business trip, I have to apply for visas. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a sort of thing, a hectic thing, which a lot of companies just don't want to do. You know, at a management level, if you have applied for visas in China, you might know it is a very complicated process for foreigners. If a Chinese wants to go to Egypt, he can get a visa on arrival, or let's say in any country, 3 to 7 days. But for the same visa, you might have to wait, let's say 3 to 4 weeks. So this is one of the main reasons why they sort of lag behind, or they might think that you don't understand the culture very well, or you don't have that background. So you have to push, and trust me, you sometimes do have to push the HR in understanding this. Because even for my job in the very early stage, well, my interview was done in UAE. So I was on a Skype call. I told them about my background. They were like, you hold an Indian passport, but I said, look, I'm a resident of UAE. My family is over here. So they said, okay, fine, fair enough. So you sort of have to bring some points. Let's say if your parents are in Saudi Arabia, just give that as a point, a background. Something that can back you.
I mean, the visas won't be an issue. The visas won't be an issue because I have visas from US and from Canada. Okay. So that won't be an issue. But the only request I would think if you can help, if you can link me up to any of those HRs who is looking for a qualified person, or as you said, like there's a job opening for medical background, I would really appreciate that.
All right, sure. I later on I will just give that. Let me see. Yeah, it's in my next slide. So once I have put that slide on, you will see the job, and you can scan the QR code. That is Victory's QR code, and you can actually even directly add her right now. Or once you add my WeChat, I will forward your WeChat. She's the right person to contact in that aspect.
Okay, that's really great, because I've been contacting different people, and through the website, I think no one really contacts you unless and until you have their WeChat, I think.
Well, through WeChat, I mean, through website, I'm not sure for the hired in, because no, I think the reason why I got in Victory was, I think, through I applied for a job and hired in. That's why I got in touch with Victory. But anyways, what you could also do is you could also try to attend these exhibitions, which is for the biomedical exhibitions. Attend them, exchange business cards. Try to help them in terms of, let's say, paperwork or these sort of things. Just the key is to enter. You know, the most difficult part in China is just to enter, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the job positioning. Two of my brothers, one of them is actually doing medical in Zhengzhou right now. One of them is doing engineering in Nanjing. I tell my brother, look.
Yeah, my younger brother did his aeronautical engineering in China too, but he's in Saudi Arabia at the moment doing his PhD now.
Okay, that's pretty good. So I mean, the key is you have to try really hard to get in, and that can only happen through your strong network. You have to build that network.
Exactly. This is what I'm really having an issue with. My
You have
network
to,
is
that can happen with the first best option is for you, I would say. Let's say if you're not in university, if you're away from all of that, the best option is attending every single exhibition you can. Go exchange business cards. I even tell my little brother that go talk to them, tell them you are available at your disposal for anything. You're not looking for a job. You're just there to help and learn. Eventually they will give you you saw the other guy who was there just now talking, I forgot his name. He also mentioned that he started just as sales when he was an undergraduate, and now they have offered him a job. So this actually happens, even if it means working for free. I pushed my brother to work at WeWork in Shanghai for free. I actually, he was a high school graduate. I flew him from UAE to Shanghai on, like, every expense was covered by my family. Shanghai is expensive. Living 3 months over there, studying, eating, doing work, transportation, it's very expensive. But that was important. You have to invest your time, your money to enter into this field. So I would suggest try working exhibitions. Should be very good. Conferences, there are a lot of paid conferences. You can pay for them, not very expensive, 100, 200 RMB. And you can attend those conferences as well, because these conferences are, let's say, mid-management level people, some decision makers. That might help us as well. But look up for that on Chinese websites.
Sure, man. Sure. Really appreciate your help, man. Thank you so much.
No worries. No worries. Anytime.
Hello, Josh Parker.
Yes.
Just actually, I think probably we don't have too much time left here, but just a few questions. I mean, I just want to
please
ask.
What's your good name?
Seek some help. Sorry?
What's your good name, mate?
Probably I'm just want to know, like, since you're talking about when you apply a job from a Chinese company, and then probably they will help you to apply, and then does that mean that we have a more chance to apply it in another country? Like probably they have a project that initiate in that country, then actually applied in that country particularly, then which means the chance that they got over there is compared with actually apply from the headquarter located in China. That is most likely the sender, and the requirements will become, they set a bar a little bit lower. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I get it. So this will depend on the sort of project it is, all right? So let's say if the project has been executed, they have been doing business in a specific country for quite a long time, 5 years, 6 years down the line. So if you're contacting them in, let's say, in the Middle East over here, it would be a little difficult to enter from here because the competition is too high, let's say. But if you're applying to the right company back in China, the headquarters, whether it's Beijing or Shanghai, the chances of you getting a job in your country or even in China is higher, which is no doubt is higher compared to applying directly in your country. Because no matter whatever happens, they do have a sort of background in China where they handle certain decisions, which also includes hiring foreigners who speak Chinese. Every single company that has a factory or manufacturing facility or just an office abroad, they definitely have someone who speaks Chinese fluently. They definitely need someone like that. So yes, you can try applying in China for your job in abroad. That also works.
Okay, and also in terms of like probably each person, they come with their different like the academic backgrounds. But since we are entering actually a new cultural, absolutely is for me. I mean, this is totally something that I have to acquire a lot of things from the local people, whatever. But do you think is good? Actually, we just grab some chances as as his peers, but just neglect that my background, some experience that are actually with my previous employers, but just to trying to actually start in this market. And then do you think is it a good idea to actually to pivot in the future to some other industry, kind of navigate back to my professions, or probably which is more associated with my academic backgrounds? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. You see, me myself, I have a aeronautical engineering background, but I am way out of it, completely deviated from that. So it all depends on your interest. So let's say if you really want to continue with whatever you're doing right now, and if you find it interesting, then I think you can continue with that. And if you have reached at a certain level, even at my level where I am right now, I can actually move to aviation industry in the same department, whether it's business development or it's marketing. I can actually get back to aviation industry. That is a chance where you could actually switch. But I still believe, in my experience, especially in China, if you're getting an opportunity, whether you have an engineering background or medical background, it is important to start with I would say whatever or the best opportunity you get in front of you, and then change and then switch your jobs, because that's what I did. Because in China, the opportunities for foreigners with a good salary, with a good company, is not that much as it is out of China. I hope you get my point.
Sure, thanks. And probably last question from me. Since this pandemic actually been affecting our life in different ways, but so, and also, does it actually affect the way that the Chinese companies kind of tighten to release the visa to some, applicants from other countries? Like probably they will consider that you from a certain area that might bring some risks, or probably they will tighten that up and trying to consider that aspect a way to reject your offer, reject the offer, or probably just consider some other people's.
Do you mean by applying a job or in terms of business execution?
Applying for a job.
In my aspects, that it would definitely have a little bit of impact from where you're coming right now. Whether it's the immigration policies, you could say, because of the situation back in your country, or whether you could say that they know that the business in a specific region has actually come down because of the economic reasons. So there will definitely be an impact on that. I will not say that they will reject you because of where you're coming from, but it will definitely have an impact looking at what region you're coming from and what is the condition, what is the economic conditions over there. So it will definitely have a little bit of impact. But since the epidemic has started, people have actually got jobs in China, but from the international perspective, people who are living abroad, getting into China right now, I am not sure if anyone has actually got that because of the immigration policies. Foreigners are not allowed to get back to China right now, apart from the 9 countries that will be open for immigration, I think from 30th of June, I think, or the first week of June, I'm not sure.
Okay. So where actually we could learn some actually updates from, like, when they'll probably release this, probably they will just let us to apply, or probably allow us to make some applications to
So
some.
there are a lot of applications still going on. I will present, well, I'm going to share it right away so that a lot of other people can actually see, including, I think, Alex, who wanted to have a look at the job opportunities. All right, so there are job opportunities over here. As you see, there's international sales, international project specialist, and then clinical research and development, etc. So, and there are definitely opportunities. It's not that there are not. They are hiring, no doubt about that. but again, it depends on the company, what their ideology is. So they are still hiring. The immigration people coming back, I think they will loosen the whole situation within a few months. They just need to see how every country or every single region is doing in terms of controlling the virus.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, anyone else? Just hold on a second, guys. I'll just pause for 1 second, but meantime, I'm gonna leave the screen on. Just give me 1 second, all right?
All right.
All right, anyone else has any questions?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Again, I am Umar Hanif again here. My second question is, you talk about the vision.
Yes.
Like we should show our vision. So at the time of interview, should we talk about the vision?
Okay.
Like, okay.
No, please. No, it's okay. It's okay. Please go ahead.
Yes, because most of the time, like these days when we are finding the jobs, most of the time the conversation is not face to face, and we need to talk through the emails. So should we also talk through emails about the vision, even they didn't ask any question? Should we just tell us what we want, what we are going to do, what is my vision? So should we talk about this during start of the process in the hiring? This is my question.
I'll give you a very simple answer to that. Every company would want to know what you're going to bring to them, right? So whether it's through an email, whether it's during a conversation with someone, I'm pretty sure every single company would want to know what are you going to bring to them. So at that amount of time, whatever you get, you can actually give a little bit of a vision that what input you would put into the success of the company. That can be done only when you do a very thorough research about the business of the company, what they do, how they do businesses, and then you need to think by yourself using your skills, what input you can put. So you can do that. And in my experience, I don't really prefer emails. I prefer phone calls and meeting people in person. My job, which is mainly supposed to be emails, phone calls, meetings, are mainly phone calls, meetings, sometimes email. A lot of times my managers are a little shocked that they just receive hi from someone, let's say a very introductory message, and then disappeared for 6 months. I do keep informing them verbally every time I see them, I talk to them, but it's just I build a good relation with my customer that they don't really need to go talk to anyone back in my company. They will always come back to me for anything, for whatever it might be, whether it's related to my company business or any business for that sake. So I prefer conversations face-to-face, phone calls rather than emails. Emails are good, but not very efficient in my experience.
Okay, 2 more questions. Sorry for
no,
this.
no, no. Please.
So the first question is how to reject an opportunity. I mean, what should be the ways to reject? Because this is also because again, if we reject, because in the future there are also going to be your relationships. So first question is how you can, what is the strategy? Like you talk about the vision. I like that. So now I'm asking how to reject, what we should 2 or 3 things we should keep in mind. Second question is when we are going to apply in China and or out of the China, should we go for the I'm asking very frankly, actually, the websites like this website, we are talking like Hire China, or we should try to make some personal relationships through any way. So what is your advice about this? Should we go to the company email addresses or company websites, or should we go for the Hire China kind of websites, or should we go for the personal? So this is my question number 2. Okay.
Right. In the slide which I shared in my PPT, I mentioned how you can actually get. I'll share it anyways. I'm not sure if you missed it. Maybe you were not there in the earlier. Just hold on a second. So as you see over here, how to seek jobs, the first thing I said, contact them through the website, attend exhibition. And one of them is also connecting directly with the job hunting companies. Now, you should definitely try looking for jobs through the website. These companies, the name of the companies I've mentioned or any other companies, look up for their website, even they do post some jobs sometimes in collaboration with companies such as Hire China. You get in touch with them, you contact them, contact the HR, go see them, whether you can have a coffee with them, attend an exhibition where they are there, arrange a meeting, and trust me, it's very uncommon that people will turn you down. People, if they have time, they will try their best to help, but never fail to ask. So contact them through website. That is something you should keep in mind. To your first question, what you should keep in mind while rejecting an offer, it depends on you. It depends on what you're looking into in terms of your career development, whether you're looking into, let's say, offer that gives a better salary, but the city is not something that you would prefer growing in that city. Or let's say you don't prefer the position, or you don't prefer a specific industry, because industry plays a vital role. I chose railway industry for some reasons. One of the main reasons is that even during the pandemic, the effect on the railway business is way less compared to the airline industry. It is in transportation, but every single city, they need transportation. They need public transportation. So for that, trains, buses are still going on. Yes, the occupancy is less, but whether you have 100,000 people traveling or 10,000 people traveling, you definitely need trains and buses. You might bring down the rates, maybe let's say from 100% to 90 or 80 or even 50%, but you will keep running these trains and buses. So that's one of the reasons I chose the railway industry. So I would say looking at an industry is important, the position, wherever you are. And if you ever get a chance, which doesn't really happen, to see what sort of management is there in an opportunity which you're getting. Because I believe management plays an important role in your success and in a company's or a team's success. Because if a management is not efficient, if it's not good, it's not really worthy. Again, that is one of the factors, not the factor, but one of the important factors. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Pleasure is on. Anyone else? If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask me any questions. Hi, Victory, you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think no one has any questions for now. So maybe we could wind up.
Yes.
All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I was able to help you with all the advices or anything related to jobs in SOEs and how to find jobs. I hope it was helpful. If you guys need any information, you want to talk to me about anything related to the culture, businesses, I will try to help with everything and whatever I have. Feel free to contact me through my WeChat or LinkedIn. I have added my LinkedIn account and my WeChat. I'm gonna put in my WeChat ID over here as well on the chat group, so you guys can add me if you guys want.
Hello, Fouzan. Just
Yes.
now I got a very good feedback that many people like this section. It's very interesting and informative. But they would like to get if you could share any recording of this recording video of this section, so they could look back to see more to check more information about this section.
Sure, I will. I think it is recording. I will save it. I'm not sure how big the file is. I will try to put it on WeChat transfer or any other link, and I will transfer it to you.
Yeah, we will talk. We will help you to share this video with everyone, with the attendee in this event.
Sure, I would be happy to do so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for your time. I highly appreciate it. Hope that I was able to answer your questions very well as well. It was an honor being here. I thank Higher China, Victory, and Alex for giving me this opportunity. And have a great weekend if you guys are not under lockdown. And if you guys are in the lockdown, then stay safe. You have enough time right now. Try to do as many as things you can. Be productive, study, do sort of some activities, anything you can in order to be productive. Again, I highly appreciate everyone's time. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.